Alright, so here I have a stock Fk8 cylinder head, but it does have springs retainers. What I mean by stock, it is a legit stock port head. No messing around, like we can see all the way in here, stock dividers. There's no cutting of cylinder heads. And again, this is where most of the power is made here. If you see somebody going like this and saying stock port head, and they're not showing anything else, there's a good chance they ported it down in here, which is where 98% of your power is made. This inlet is so huge, guys. If you go look at any previous case series, it's like this in comparison, all right? So porting this area doesn't do squat. Like, you could turn around, I could not port this area, just pour it from the divider back, and probably make 1,000 if you send enough boost with a big enough turbo and you're willing to push the engine that hard with a header full. Cam caps are trash. An engine, well, not an engine place, a racing company that was building an engine for this customer. They didn't do things the way they should have been done. So we have destroyed cam caps. And let me tell you guys something, that the cam caps get destroyed when trash doesn't really go up inside of an engine for the most part. Like, if you have a bad rod bearing, it's going to go down into the pan, get sucked into the oil pump, and then get put into the filter. And the ability for trash to get all the way up here from there is really, really kind of unrealistic unless your check valve and your oil filter is like blown wide open, which, yeah, that's really not going to happen either. So that's just not really a thing. But what we're going to do is disassemble this head. And first of all, to get the intake rockers out is really simple. Going to simply remove this bolt, and then we're going to take this rocker shaft and we're going to push it this way. Why do I say this way and not that way? Because it's locked this way with the block off here, and generally I found that it's easier for me to remove these going this direction. Alright, so I'm gonna now remove this generally. So this bolt and this bolt, what I like to do, and this is where I'm comfortable when I do torque these, and I clean them up before I put the bolt back in so that I know I'm getting the torque I want. I'm not just stretching the bolt. I'll usually do some blue Loctite on the thread and some a 10 foot-pound torque. That's the best spec. I found that seems to work really well with these. The reason for the blue Loctite is the valve train gets a lot of vibration. So that is why you will see me do that. Now, you have to be careful because these have plugs. And what I mean by that is they have basically an oil plug in the end of it. And if you use the wrong size tool or whatever you're using to push that out, right? If you get the wrong size, you can actually damage the rocker shaft. And right now, so what I found on this one, on this particular side, it's not smaller than the diameter of the actual rocker shaft end. And I'll show you what I mean by that. So realistically, you should be able to cleanly, yeah, see, that shows me that the rocker shaft should be in good shape coming out that easy, you know. Now I'm not really too crazy, like I'm not really going too nuts on the organization, on the rockers on these sides. These are non-VTECs. This engine definitely sat out in the weather. My God, look at that. What on earth, man? I mean, and the customer got this assembled, and this is what he got. Oh God, I just can't. I'm sorry. Let me just not say anymore. I'm not gonna say anymore. Like, why are we stuck here? What's going on? Did we just not set the end correctly? We're maxed out there. Should be able to just, yeah, at this point. So the rocker shaft itself, this looks like it's in good shape. The problem is though, the price of one of these rocker shafts is like 45 bucks or something like that. I don't know if I want to reuse this because that's metal, you know, and that's going to be inside of the rocker shaft. And how do I know this is metal? Because I see like a sparkle in it. If I hit the right angle, you see how shiny that looks, almost like silver. You know, unfortunately, that's a problem. That's really a problem. So it would take, getting the rocker shaft clean is okay. I don't like the fact that there's rust on the side of it. It literally looks like this thing sat in water. And I know the engine didn't sit in water. because I know the owner, and he's like really meticulous. He plugged off every port. There's even rust on the lash adjustment. Inside of here looks good. I don't see anything there. That's an issue. Now, you can at this point, because the exhaust rocker is different, and there's a plug underneath here, to make your life easier, it's easier to remove the end cap here, and usually a good rubber mallet end. So I don't have any bolts in it. That's really on there. Let me see. Where is the... There it is. There's always a little spot in the front you can pop these off with. Don't go crazy. But there you go. And voila. Now's where we get to keeping things important, like organized. I like to do this via Ziploc baggies. This is pretty much the best way I've found to do this. Generally, wow, that really wasn't very tight. So what I'll do is, for the intake side, I'll just keep this in a Ziploc bag separate. Now I have the plug cap on the side here. This is, I believe it's an M10. Oh, I can't see at the moment. Yeah, M10, Allen. That's interesting because that came off really easy, and the previous one was barely tight, which is strange. Again, I don't know who assembled. Well, actually, let me rephrase that. I do know what company assembled it, but I don't know the individual who assembled it. No, guys, I'm not going to spill no names. All I can say is just this really wasn't done properly. Alright, now, again, the caps. Oh, what I said about the rocker shaft and the rocker shaft end. See this hole? Okay. This is a block off. And what this is when they make this and they machine this on the rocker shaft, they machine the hole, and they machine the holes this way. When they're done, they clean it, and they put these caps to hold oil pressure. Well, people, this one's good because it's right, this cap inside here, you see that? Goes between this right here, this little oil outlet, and here. Alright, the locking place for the bolt, right? So, people take them and they put a little quarter inch actual extension in, and boom, and then they jam this thing down in here, and then it's now destroyed. And basically, they end up destroying the whole valve train. I've seen this quite a few times, actually. And you always need to check to see, you know, does it go onto the inside diameter? If it does, you need to find a different tool. Now, that end on the other one is slightly different size. See, like this one goes inside of it. So, I now need to go back to my toolbox and find one that is smaller. Now, and don't force things, man. If you're hitting it with a hammer, there's something not right, you know? You should be able to do just like that and push that forward. Now that I've got it out far enough. Now, you may not be able to pull that out that easily. I was pretty surprised that came out that easily, but this engine didn't run for that long. So in this spring kit, this is not your standard spring kit that you'll see. This spring kit is actually for the VTEC Delete setup on these. So I find it rather weird that they use this, and I'll show you why in a minute, why I kind of don't like that idea. This rocker looks, I mean, the clearances aren't terrible, but they're there. So there's also, gotta be careful, there's washers in here that you need to make sure that you don't lose. Let me just put this down over here. So you got 4 washers, and the washers act almost like a bush between the rocker arms, right? So you got one here, one here, one here, and one here. So you've got them in these areas, and this allows them to keep from grinding against each other. and also basically shims it. So here we have the actual rocker that activates the VTEC, and that there is an oil port in here, not just a regular feed port. There's an oil port in here where the oil gets pressurized through the rocker shaft, pushes this pin out. That pin, right, then pushes this pin across into this rocker, and then push it, and then they lock in as a whole because this each pin is offset a little bit. So like this will stick out. You can see the mark on that one where it sticks, how far it sticks into the rocker here with the rocker with the spring. So you can see here I could push that inside of that rocker, and then this pin being pushed out into this rocker locks this one into place. So that's how VTEC works. Well, that's how Honda does their VTEC, right? Don't lose these pins as I drop it in here. That's funny. Don't lose them. There's nothing, there's no like, oh, I can buy a replacement pin. There's nothing out there for that. And that's how you pretty much disassemble this part of the head. Don't forget, you have your LMAs. These are what's called LMAs, lost motion assemblies. All this does is keeps this tensioned so that when the car's running and you got the camshaft against this is the one that hits the middle lobe of the VTEC lobe, and then when they're locked in, you're pressing against the bigger lobe, pushing the valves down. That's how that works. But that is how you take apart at least the rocker assemblies on an FK head. And let's see. Well, there's not, well, yeah, there you go. Not as much metal. It still looks like there's some ARP lube on that. That is literally how new. And another big no-no. All right, ladies and gentlemen, another big fat no-no. Do not put ARP lube on the bottom of the washer during your install. You want the bolt or the nut, you want the nut to spin on top of the washer, not the washer to spin with the nut. That is the right way to do it. When you're installing your studs, you should not have ARP lube underneath the washer. You're gonna mess up your torque spec. And follows Honda's procedure exactly like your starting point and everything. Your starting bolt should be here. It's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 7, 8, 9, 10. I just went backwards. Anyway, let me do that again. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 7, 8, 9, 10. That is the order. Yeah, that's the order because you come over here and you have to cross and then come across this way. Don't do this, okay? Just don't do this. Don't do 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Don't do that. The head's gonna do all sorts of weird things. These heads don't like that. I've already, well, I wouldn't say I've tested it, but that theory has been tested, and it's known to pop gaskets to do that out of that order. While you would think going across back and forth would press the head down more evenly, these heads just don't like that. So follow the exact torque order. Okay, on to removing valves. This is not a super complicated process. All right, normally I like to use a little screwdriver magnet to remove the valves. Another thing I should mention, everybody thinks that the standard array of valve springs and retainers have a titanium retainer top. They do not, and nor is it stainless because it's magnetic. Stainless and titanium are not magnetic. So if you get something that's listed as titanium and it is magnetic, well, guess what? Guess what it's not. It's not titanium. And guess something listed as pure stainless and it's magnetic, that means it is not actually stainless. So I'm gonna, I didn't think that was gonna happen. So I was gonna give her a go and see if I could just pop them, because generally they're, not gonna happen. So what you can do and this generally kind of helps. Give her a little tappy tappy, and a lot of times that can knock them loose. Hold on. Let me get this. Alright. There we go. So sometimes I just gotta create more leverage. Now what I don't like doing, and I see these people do this all the time, and in backyards, is they'll take the head, they'll put it on the ground, right? And then what they'll do is they will turn around and they will take an actual socket and just hammer the top. And what that does is it knocks the keeper, the retainer down, and then the actual keepers come flying out. And some people do that and put a magnet inside there. What I don't like is you're basically smashing the valve against something. And I don't like that because there's a chance, although valves are usually pretty tough, that you can bend them. So it looks like they did not use Fk8 here for the actual valve guide seals. They look like they're Honda seals. Let me go grab my valve guide seal tool. Boy, I am so not prepared today. I gotta start learning how to get more prepared. Let's see if my puller will pull these off. If it's a Honda seal, generally they're pretty easy to pull off. Supertech's harder. And Fk8 being, if you've got it on a stock guide, pretty darn difficult. She does not want to come off. I'm pulling the guide seal off because I want to look and see. Alright, there is another way to do this, and don't freak out, because I know somebody's going to be like, oh my god, and it doesn't matter, because they're not reusable. Once you take them off, they're trash. This is a super easy way to get them off. Just torch them. And voila. So we have a steel guide, which is fine. Valve seat was close to the edge of the valve, so it was cut decently. Let's see what the valve job looks like. Yeah, so somebody definitely cut back on the valve job. That looks wider than a standard seat, which does improve flow. However, it really only improves flow if you port it. Like, you're not really gaining but a few CFM here and there. It does look, though, like it could have been done a little bit further out to the edge of the valve. It's kind of hard to see without my other set of glasses. Let me go get my, what I call my zoomers, or zoomies, because they are, yeah, I'm getting old. Progressives. Let me double up here. Look at that, double up on that. So, this is pretty decent. We definitely get near the edge of the valve. Ideally, you want it to be at the edge, a little bit closer for maximum flow, but by not doing that, you also, in this case, give a nice fat valve seat so that generally the valve doesn't start to like tulip and the seat doesn't get destroyed. That's one of the benefits of doing that. Now the port here, I'll get you guys into some pictures later and you can see about porting the head, and that's going to be a little bit separate video right after this one. Apparently though, when I took the head off, these dowels were mangled. Also the block had a huge gouge in the top of it, which was rather upsetting to see. I'll have to go back over that block when it comes back here after I get this other engine out of here. He really just wanted to leave the head with me to see what could be done and just kind of go over what was salvageable in the head. The other thing is you need to be careful of if you guys deburr the cylinder edge, right, the cylinder right here. If you decide to deburr this, be careful, because if you go out too far here, you will go into the sealing portion of the gasket and the gaskets won't hold. So you need to be careful if you're going to deburr this. So that's it for this video. Check the next one out. Should be following right up.